just want a way out. Wish that I could blame you. Wish that I could hate you. But I'd be lying to myself.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Oh my God, banana bread. Did you make it?
I did with love.
Nice.
There's a story behind
Walnuts?
pecans. Chocolate chips, coconut.
That's what it was. I knew there was something different in there, but I was so busy eating, I never even thought to ask a question.
And the coconut is different. The coconut just,
Yeah,
it's a big story.
no, that's good. Oh, welcome back to East Coast DNA for another ECMA 35 special interview. We have another returning guest, Aaron MacDonald. Welcome, Aaron.
Thanks. Nice to see you again, Darcy.
You too. So you're performing this evening at the Brown Hound.
The Brown Hound, part of the ECMA partner stage. Our good friends and friend of the pod, Steve McIntyre, put it all together. Did a great job.
And what other type things do you have in store for your own weekend here?
For my own weekend, I have this as my only showcase, but then taking in a few of the seminars and workshops and just trying to network as much as possible over the next couple of days.
Awesome. And I know when we talked to you in Sydney, we were talking about the material that you had out in the year leading up to it. But do you have new stuff that you're planning on releasing in 2023?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm pretty much finishing mixing and mastering a song for summer release. Actually going to shoot a little video tomorrow as part of my morning for that song, and hopefully getting that together before the summer really hits.
Awesome. So there's a lot of stuff to look forward to going into the
a lot
summer.
of stuff. I got a lot of shows coming up. I got a little trip to Ontario planned, a couple of trips around, a little trip around the Maritimes, New Brunswick and PEI coming up in August. So I'm excited to get kind of out there again.
Are these performances where you're touring around a little bit, are they like solo gigs?
This is going to be a lot of solo shows, in
Yep.
Ontario as well, doing a little solo session around the Maritimes. It's up this summer.
Well, that's exciting for you, I'm sure.
Yeah, oh man, I need it.
Yeah.
I need to get out.
Are you bringing anyone along with you, or is there different local people maybe?
No, this one in particular, I have a few shows where I got like a duo or a 4-piece band. So some of my regular bandmates will be with me for that. The Ontario's just me by myself solo, so I'm just kind of doing my singer-songwriter kind of part of it all,
Perfect. And you just came in today, so you probably haven't caught anything here
Haven't caught anything here yet. No, just did a nice session with your mutual friends at the Shoebox Studios.
Yes.
Did a little session with them and just kind of mingling. A big part of these weekends, I think, is just getting out and seeing people, talking to people, not being shy to just kind of get up there. I was just talking to Kelly McMichael, is it, right?
Yeah.
I booked a show at the Dakota Tavern in Toronto, and she's playing there in June. So I'm up there in August, so we were just kind of talking about that, and we never met each other before. But, that's what this is about, just kind of getting out there and meeting and greeting and talking about similar things.
Oh, awesome. I know I've been struggling to get these interviews in and be able to do networking.
You can't be everywhere, Darcy.
Well, I think this is location 3 or 4 now for content that we have coming out of the ECMA. So it's been exciting anyway, but it's hard to believe that maybe not for yourself, but this is just the beginning of the weekend. I was trying to figure that out earlier today when I saw
Stamina.
some emails.
It's all about stamina.
It's Friday.
You have to pace yourself, folks. You have to pace yourself.
Yeah. Lots of and drink lots of water through the day to keep you moving.
I've learned the hard way in past ECMAs and these music conferences. You need to pace yourself.
Yeah, the backstage for the awards last night. It was a new experience for me, but it was just like so many people and so many things happening all at once. It was just like utter chaos.
I mean, these weekends there is a lot happening. Like every aspect, like these podcasts, little snippets like Shoebox is doing there, the live performances left and right. I mean, and just it's fun. It's crazy, and it just shows you that music is alive here in the East Coast, right?
Yeah, and as a fan, like yourself as a fan, and myself as a fan going around, it's exciting to hear what everyone's working on.
Man, and that's a big part. Like I'm the last ECMAs, I was lucky. I had a lot of meetings, showcases, and such, and I only have one show this weekend. But part of that, I'm taking advantage of it. My family's coming up. We're going to be just checking out shows tonight, tomorrow. There's so much good music. That is like the biggest part. Once the evening hits, just rolling around to all these shows.
Yes, and we got Krista Crane sitting off to the side. She's trying not to get mentioned, but
she rolls out to a lot of shows.
I've already mentioned her several times before, and She's another proud supporter of the East Coast music scene, and
Absolutely.
actually has been supplying our guests with some baked goods off to the side. I
Properly,
mentioned it.
proper baked goods, folks. Just
Yeah.
Cape Breton baked goods. Don't
It's-
get you any
it's pretty
ideas
good.
there.
Yes,
And a cup of tea.
And a cup of
you
tea.
can't beat it.
so we're doing it traditional style here at the Airbnb for sure.
Proper.
So I think we're probably going to be bouncing around a little bit more this weekend and getting a few more interviews. We had a couple other of your friends on already. I think probably you're performing, you said, this evening.
Yep.
So we'll
5
be
o'clock.
down there. If I
Brown
get a
Hound.
chance to capture some of your performance, I'll insert it here.
Awesome. Right now.
And thank you for taking some
Oh,
time
God,
to
man,
sit
thank you for having
down. I
me.
know
It's so great
everyone's
that you guys are
busy.
doing this.
and- yeah,
You
no,
know,
it's
we need 10 Darcys.
yes. I need at least 2 more.
You need at least
just
2
to
more
follow me
Darcys, but
around.
we all
Yeah.
could use 10 more.
Yeah, so anyone that's watching this that I've been talking to over the weekend too, that's doing similar content, you do realize I'm looking for more Darcys.
Yes.
That is
Darcy's
not shameful
wanted.
at all. It's 100% true. So, Aaron, I'll keep an eye on your social media as I
Yeah.
always have with the podcast.
thanks, buddy.
and you're one of the artists that have bled over into all of my personal accounts too. So
That's
I
great.
usually see all the time.
Yep.
Your face is in a lot of our episodes because it's on one of the posters in the background on the wall. now.
Nice. I like it.
So
I like it.
we'll definitely be keeping an eye out for new material,
Yep,
and
it's
we'll
coming soon.
try to share some of your tour
Yeah.
dates and some of our news items there
No,
as well.
thanks, Darcy. Really appreciate
All
it.
right, thanks again,
Awesome.
and everyone out there, get a chance to check out Aaron with the upcoming releases, the upcoming tour dates, and you can go check them out online right now.
That's right.
All right, thanks again.
Thanks, Darcy.
Welcome back to East Coast DNA, another ECMA 35 special. We have Leona Burkey, another return guest. Welcome, Leona.
Darcy. Hi, Darcy.
So, what's the big pull for you for ECMA 35 being up here in the city for the weekend?
I was just telling somebody about this. It's interesting. I actually prefer when ECMAs are not in my hometown. Because last night, I'm like, oh, I got to do this, And then I'm like, oh, I got to go home and make supper for the kids. So when it's out of town, then I get to fully immerse. But what I love about this year is that because it's in Halifax and it's a big anniversary, everyone's here. So it's really nice to see huge gathering of musicians. It's fantastic. And I'm between album cycles and nomination cycles and stuff this year. So it's really nice to kind of not be under a lot of pressure and just be able to, see everybody and catch a few sessions and catch a lot of music and just, vibe. So it's good.
And you mentioned some new material maybe, but with the conversation we were having leading up to this recording, you've had a lot of, we did just talk quite a bit, but you've had a lot of little series going on, showcasing a lot of different talent. So the Shine Blue one was the one I was most aware of through social media. You've got another little advertisement here for one coming up, and you just mentioned like a third one that happened not too long ago.
I like to do things in threes.
Yeah, so maybe I'll just hand you the mic for a minute and you can just give the viewers a little rundown on some of those things so they know some of the names to look for out there for the showcases, the different series, festival names and everything, so that they can check it out and know that all the bands on there are going to be within a certain type of category more so than genre.
Yeah, very cool. Thanks, Darcy. So, yeah, sometimes I put together shows, and it's mostly because someone's got to do it. You know what I mean? And I also think that I have a tendency to mom other musicians because I've been at it a long time. I know how hard it can be sometimes, even to just get up the courage to be like, all right, I'm going to do this. Sometimes you have to make things happen, and no one's going to make them happen for you. But I am a huge consumer of East Coast music. You know, I'm a back from away. I love watching what everyone's doing. I have like a huge day job background in the charitable sector, and so all of those things smashed together. It is kind of, yeah, I've got a 3-point plan. So once a year, we do a pair of shows and we raise money for Autism Nova Scotia because I have a son on the autism spectrum. So this past weekend was our 8th annual, and we do one in my hometown in St. Peter's, Cape Breton, and then we do a twin show at the Carlton in Halifax. And we have a rotating lineup of folks. The Shine Blue shows, we call them Shine Blue, the Shine Blue shows. And that's just a symbol of the autism community from a few years ago, where they had a campaign and they would light things up blue for Autism Awareness Month. So we just kept Shine Blue, and we turn all the stage lights blue, and we have blue candles everywhere. And what I love about it is we literally have a real musical conversation about inclusion and acceptance and what that looks like and all of that. And it's big heart stuff. And this past weekend was astonishing. So we raised a ton of money. The performances were really, really, on point, and it was really, really beautiful. So that's kind of my big fundraiser that I try to do every year. So next year will be year number 9. Wow. So every year we just grow it a little bit. This year we had, in St. Peter's, we had Joe Henry come. And because I wanted his Cape Breton debut to be as shiny as possible. So we got him to come down, and I knew my hometown would adore him and want to eat him alive. And that's exactly what happened. So it was good because he, if you gain some fans in Cape Breton, they are fans for life. So that was awesome. And then I also do another series that is my Just for Fun series, and I call it New Songs, Old Souls. And that's totally a mom thing. I just kind of look around the city, mostly see who's doing stuff, see who's working on new stuff, and we pull together 4 or 5 acts, and we do a long form cabaret. And the rule is that you got to drop something new on the audience, and get real. And our last one was at Gus's Pub here in the city, and it was amazing. Yeah, New Songs, Old Souls. I love it. And then I have a brand new series that is focusing more on women in music, which I'm quite hesitant to do a lot because I like when we're all just together, But I've been at it a long time. Man, sometimes the more things change, the more they stay the same. I was thinking about how nice it would be to, instead of talking about disparate numbers and how we make things better all the time, instead to have one night where everyone gets paid more than fairly and a killer lineup of ladies get to strut and play and say whatever they want and celebrate their own creative courage with no hustle, no hassle, and no gender weirdness, right? Let's just celebrate. The big thing is money. You put together a show, you try to sell tickets, you lose $49 in the end, you go home not feeling very good. So we just wanted, I was just thinking, how wonderful would it be to have one night where you get paid well and you can shine it up however you like, and we can truly kind of celebrate those storied voices and that creative courage, because it's a certain sort of experience to be a woman in the music biz. There are still things that make the experience as a woman in the biz different than the experience of, kind of your mainstream guys in the biz. And, it's not about splitting hairs. It's just about having a night where we can truly celebrate the successes and the courage of these ladies, and they don't need to worry about losing money. So I'm hoping to have 3 this year, but we have 2 planned, and they are, I call them my angels and allies sponsors. So basically, I tap on a few shoulders. The last guy I talked to was like, I'm going to give you this much money. Why am I giving this to you? I was like, well, you're actually funding a celebration that is going to be amazing. It's going to give these women a chance to connect and just relax for one night. And I'm like, and also, you don't get your period, so give me some money. And if you say period to a guy, they'll do anything to get you out of the room and stop saying that word. No, I'm just kidding. I'm very gentle. Yeah, that's it. We're out of here. But I'm very gentle about that stuff. And it was astonishingly easy to gather up a few angels and allies to sponsor the first concert. So that concert is fully funded. The guarantees are up front. And everyone just needs to come and get ready to just raise the roof and relax and have a really good time. I'm going to host so I can ask questions and, keep things rolling and keep everyone engaged. The first one is in Friday, May the 12th at Daniel's in Sydney. We're going to a big bar room, and it's the Mother's Day special. So we're telling everybody, take your mamas out all night. Let's do this. And it's like a roving, rowdy Lilith Fair mini fest all in one night. So the first one is in Sydney. And I'm going to Sydney because I'm scared of Sydney. And you should do things you're afraid of. So when I was little, Sydney was the big town. And I may or may not have had a few weird experiences at Smooth Herman's when I was underage. And it made me a little afraid of Sydney. So I'm like, we better go to Sydney first so I can get that out of the way. And then our next one will be in June at the newly reopened Old Confidence Lodge on the South Shore. So we'll, and what I want to do is, say for the South Shore, we'll bring a couple ringers that are more seasoned and established, maybe from the city or whatever. I'm still recruiting the lineup. Now that people know that they're getting paid well, that changes the game, right? So everybody wants to come. But also, let's say on the South Shore, the trick will be to include some popular and emerging locals who may, wait years to get the chance to play with the rest of the lineup, so that the local audience can really get kind of a little bit of that local flavor. And then the ringers come in and, we make it a really nice mix of emerging and seasoned talent, and make sure that there's a local component so that people can kind of really, really feel celebratory. And I think the third one, we might go to the Valley. And I'm thinking about maybe bringing it to New Brunswick too, because there's some ladies doing some great stuff in New Brunswick. And I really love bringing people together because community is really important. And the music business, as friendly as we all are to each other, it's extremely competitive. And it's nice to have a night off where there's none of that. Mm-hmm. And let's just have a time. So we're going to see how it goes. And I'm looking at it as a pilot. So if I can structure it a little bit more, that it becomes a little more self-sustaining, we'll keep it going. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, right? And I'm not accountable to government funding. It's privately funded. And my angels and allies are just happy to support the idea. They don't want a lot of public recognition. They're just helping me with the concept, because sometimes you need your friends to help you, and that's okay.
That's awesome to hear. I mean, I am used to. Yeah, I hear a lot of stories, like either through the interviews or off the recordings, about like grants and funding, and obviously with what I do, that's something of interest for me to pursue going forward. But it's nice to hear the way that you're doing it. It's a little closer to that do-it-yourself kind of vibe of like both the 60s and 90s music scenes had that do-it-yourself, figure out how you want to do it. And it doesn't have to be the same way as everyone else. So it's very inspirational that you're actually able to do it yourself. And I, speaking as the white male, I don't have a lot of places that I speak up on, but it's nice to see that from as far as promoting women and everything, you're able to do it your own way too, instead of, to your point, having to follow rules that somebody else put in play in order to be eligible to do what you want to do. You're accomplishing the same goal, but you're able to do it your own way, and that's I'd like to celebrate everyone on this podcast, but it's nice to see that you're actually able to accomplish that. Like I'm probably going to end up asking you more questions in the future about how this all plays out, because it's really exciting. And shout out to, I did notice that you had tickets going on sale through Side Door. So I just saw Laura during the basketball game the other night, and her clip, if she does happen to randomly see this, the clip of you with me that I didn't actually have record on when you stopped over impromptu. But yeah, I'm a fan of that whole concept. I'm excited to see where they're going with stuff too. So I'm happy to see two of my favorite women in the industry are collaborating. So I'm excited to see where that's going to go.
Exciting. And I just like one of the benefits of being really experienced is that I came up in my second act when there were rarely would you see a woman playing alone in a bar room. You wouldn't believe the things that I've been asked over the years and the shit I've had to put up with. And a lot of things, some things are a lot better now, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I watch these ladies work so incredibly hard, and I just want to throw a party. That's what, so that everyone can just relax. It's not about anything but celebrating their journeys and that the emotional depth of like women's creative process and the music that they make. It fascinates me, right? Because I know what informs my writing, and it's a very complicated life. Yeah. And I'm like, everyone has those things. And some of our Sydney girls, a couple of them are moms. Some of them aren't. Some of them are younger, and they're going to roll into that time and maybe have to deal with that, and we certainly have more in common than we have not in common. And, I was messaging Hearts of Kin, and I was like, man, buddies, I just want one night where you guys can chill, go home with some real money, and celebrate each other's successes, and just rock out and not have to worry about anything, and get paid. And she's like, well, isn't that the dream? Yeah. Right? And I'm like, yeah, it is, and we're gonna do it. I don't know how many we can do, but we're definitely gonna do 3. And it isn't that hard to find money. You just have to make people believe in what you're doing, right? And the fact that it's a celebration, it's not a big we need to rise up. Like, it's nothing to do with that. It's just, man, the ladies need a night too. It's not an opener. It's none of that. It's
super exciting because I'm familiar with most of the artists there as well too. So that is super exciting, and it does sound like you may have some successes coming on your hands in the near future. In order to fuel your own set for those, then, I know you've had some success with your latest recordings. I think after our last time, you Ground Rush might have been out at the time, and Marshy Hope was doing well recently. Yeah. So are you releasing new material like right on the heels of that, or are you going to continue to promote stuff off of the Ground Rush album?
Oh, yeah. Well, I do. I'm going to tell you my trick, Darcy. And it's because I'm old and I do what I want. So you put all your heart and soul into a record. Great. But I really like making records. Like, they are 10 tracks. They have they're not concept albums by any means, but they have a through line. They are carefully made, And I get really annoyed when Spotify tells me what to do, basically. And even sometimes the typical way that things are done in these modern times, it just kind of didn't work for me this time. So I was really keen on releasing Ground Rush physically and having some release shows before the end of 2022. So I pushed it as late as I could before the Christmas blackout, and we did that, and it was wonderful. And then now what I did after that is I didn't release it on the big streamies until Valentine's Day, because I wanted people to get a chance to go to Bandcamp and read the friggin' liner notes and maybe support the record with dough because it costs a lot of money to make it, and I'm like, let's just let it live there for a little while. Like, I'm self-managed. Nobody's telling me what to do. And then what I did was we put together a crew and recorded a couple of videos, which was new for me, like that medium, like making an official music video. And the timing was a little wonky for one reason or another. So I made up a new style of releasing singles, and I call it the reverse cascade move, where you drop the record, but then you take your time. And luckily, with a few good relationships in radio and in the community, no one cares if you have a solid music vid and it's a great track. Instead of calling it a single or preset, whatever the heck, Spotify, I just call it the reverse cascade move. So the record's out, and now we talk about feature tracks. So the first one was Ground Rush, the title track. Great. Second one, we had a video ready for Marshy Hope, so we featured that one. I'm about to do it again because Mother's Day's coming, and we have WomenFolk 1 happening, and I'm going to do another feature track and video for this tune called Ancient Waters. That's the mother of all Mother's Day songs. And I'm not sure I might reverse cascade the entire record into the fall, because there's tracks on there that I love dearly and I want to tell people about them, and feature them in some way. And with the way we can manipulate content now and talk about things on our own terms, I am so glad I did that, because now people have listened to the record, and then they get to hear from me which ones I think are the specials and why, and we attach that to certain goings on, and I love it. And it's not true to form, but it doesn't affect my bottom line or career in any nasty way. So I was telling Bill Roach about it a little while ago. He's like, oh, this is interesting. I was like, yeah, just doing it backwards. It's called the reverse cascade move, right? Instead of cascading your singles in front of the record, I'm just featuring them after so that people get a chance to digest it. And it's working just fine.
It for what I've seen so far, it has, and I can't think of any reason why nobody's. Maybe everybody should have been doing it already. Now that I think about it.
It's not trademarked. You go ahead.
Oh, there you go. Like, free of charge idea for you guys out there. So you'll be releasing things through the year from that, and that with that strategy. So that's something for people to keep an eye out. And you've had success with the first couple singles that you've done that way. You've got a lot of awesome activities coming up with these performances that you've lined up for everybody. And you're on the bill for every one of them. You're not just lining them up for the other ladies. You will also be in them also. What should people do that have just watched this and now they want to be your number one fan, if they want to follow you going into the rest of the year and see what's happening?
Yeah. Well, I'm the only Leona Burkey on the planet right now. Lucky me. So my last name is super weird because it's a misspelling of an old French name. So it's Burkey like turkey. So it's so easy to find me on the interweb. You just have to Google me and it all comes out because I'm the only one. That is so fortunate. Anyway, on to other things. But I am planning to start a new record in the fall. But, you know, I kind of have like a loose plan around the team and the studio that I want to use and, you know, all of that. But that one, you know, I'm going to take my time because Ground Rush is essentially a 2023 release, even though we did release shows and physically released it late 22. So I'm going to ride that Ground Rush, you know, wave until I am, you know, fully into working on a new project. So, and this summer and in the next, you know, 6 months to a year, I have a little bit of time opening up because my kids are a little older. So, hence being able to do a couple of series, which is really good. And then also, I'm just going to kind of just do some regional roaming and get out and play in spots and towns and sweet places that I just haven't been before so that I can get to know more folks. And these last couple years have been, I've been relishing, you know, kind of a really nice second chapter in a really long music journey. And I've also come to realize that, you know, being a mom, being a little older, you know, being a pretty seasoned songwriter, that there's room to tell those stories and they are actually really relatable. And a big change, this is like advice to everybody. A big change for me. What I found to be a strain a lot of the time coming up, you know, as a woman playing music, or as is your life got more complicated. You know, you got kids, or you know, I got a caregiving situation, and I got this and that. My husband was a rotational worker most of it. Like, holy shit, you know, it's a lot. But I always tried to almost like pretend that I was cool, you know, like things weren't as chaotic as they seemed, and I was able to do this and do that, and almost pretending that, you know. But now that I've kind of stopped doing all of that and really tell the stories that inform, you know, I talk about the whole catastrophe now, and people, it's highly relatable, and I'm like, oh yeah, you have to be true to you, otherwise it doesn't make sense, you know. And leaning more into that has created this conversation, you know, with fans and music lovers, and it feels amazing. So to be able to, a lot of it has to do with, you know, being a lot more comfortable with where you are or whatever, you know, that certainly comes with time. But yeah, that has been really lovely to like be like, well, I'm just gonna tell it like it is, I guess, and just keep doing what I'm doing. And instead of pretending to be, you know, some kind of glossy, you know, trying to be so legit, I'm just embracing the whole catastrophe. And the more you talk about it, you know, I'm like, oh man, everyone's in the same boat, you know. And it's really been, yeah, it's been a really great couple of years, because instead of, you know, like I said, instead of trying to pretend those catastrophes aren't there, I just kind of talk about them, you know. And it gives just a relatability, I think, to what I'm doing. And my last record, Ground Rush, for me is like, oh yes, I love this, like just personally. And I love that people are responding to it as much as I like it, you know. So I'm like, ooh, that's great. So I already can't wait for the next one. So I'm just kind of getting my ducks in a row and, you know, starting to get some material together and stuff. But yeah, so I'll be playing in some different spots in the next, you know, 6-8 months, getting to know lots more folks, and you know, and of course people can follow me on in the usual spots, you know. And even though I'm stubborn, my music of course is on all the streamers and it's easy to find. And yeah, so all the records are on there and the recordings. And I'm really looking forward to the WomenFolk series. We're going to see if that hooks. I have a feeling it's going to be amazing, but I'm not sure until we try it, you know? So we're going to try it. And then, just kind of take it from there. And I've been having a lot of fun telling the stories of this particular album because it's my truest work to date. And sometimes, you know, that's where the good stuff is, I guess, right? You know that too, Darcy, right? Something we pretend.
Yes, absolutely. I'm excited to hear the new material, but I'm also going to have to keep an eye on what else you're doing with the album that's out right now. And now I'm wondering if there's any of those shows that I should be scribbling down before you leave the room so that maybe I keep an eye on. There you go. Perfect.
Listen to me, people. If you want to be involved in WomenFolk, if you're like, hey, I'd love to kick $100 to fund a concert of this nature, or I would love to be part of a WomenFolk lineup, or I would love to bring a WomenFolk party to my venue or to my town. You can reach that line of things at womenfolkshows@gmail.com. And that will just come to me, but then I'll know why you're emailing me. If you use womenfolkshows.com, or you can just find me on any of the platforms and just send me a message if you're interested in getting involved. It's very early in a pilot phase, but we'd love to see it go to towns and venues here and there, and maybe even regionalize it. So exciting times.
Awesome. Thank you very much. When I have time to edit all this, I'll try to remember all this to put in the notes. So the description down below should have some links for people as well. And thanks for your time. And we'll let you go so we can both get back out there and capture some more of the ECMA 35.
Back to the circus grounds.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Darcy.
Welcome back to East Coast DNA. We're back down at the Brown Hound, and we're outside because the sun came back out. It's not as wet as it has been the rest of the week. And now we have another special guest with us here. Welcome, Alicia Penney.
Hi, thanks for having me.
And thanks for accommodating all the last minute changes. I've been bouncing around. I think this is maybe location 4 or 5 now. So.
Yeah, this isn't my first ECMA rodeo, so I know how it goes.
So we were talking a little bit before we started having this interview here. So when you were first talking to me about having this interview this weekend, it was primarily we were going to talk about Fox Sparrow,
Yes.
which August of 22 it was released?
Yeah, last August.
Okay, so I definitely want to talk about that. But before we get to it, for our viewers, you do have a little bit of history in the music industry.
A little bit, yeah.
So maybe if you want to talk a little bit about your previous life, I'm sure some of them will be as fascinated as I was about some of your previous connections. And some people are probably very ecstatic by the two faces they're seeing on the screen, because I know some of the artist followers that we have on the podcast definitely know both of your faces.
Yeah. So yeah, I grew up in Cape Breton in, I guess, the 90s, and started playing music when I was in high school. We'd go to all ages shows with this guy, Sean MacGillivray, and his various bands like Nothing to Say and Rock Ranger and Pulse and all the other really cool bands. And I was like, I gotta start a rock band. So I started like a rock band in high school called Yellow, which still sort of kicks around every once in a while. And then I've been doing solo stuff the whole time. I played with a bunch of different bands. So I was on the first Tom Fun record, and I did some guest spots on other records, like Great Plains, Home of the New Totem, and a few other things. I play with Billy Yvette Rogers back home. I play some bluegrass tunes with my dad. Like, I just basically do a little bit of everything.
And you had a little bit of break for your personal life outside of your music career.
Yeah, so things got kind of crazy in various bands that I was in for a while, and I had a kind of an epiphany that I just wanted to play music that I liked with people that I liked. And so I kicked around Cape Breton for a while with that, and then There was a pandemic. I don't know if you know about that.
My brother mentioned it on one of our episodes
Yeah.
before, but I haven't really looked into it.
Yeah, so I wasn't going out much. I ended up getting married. I had a little kid. I went back to school. I'm still trying to finish my master's thesis, and yeah, so I kind of I was still playing music throughout the whole thing, but I wasn't really as active as previously. So, and then one day I kind of accidentally just recorded an album without really planning it. I was just gonna go and record a couple of tunes, and then it was going so well that I just recorded more tunes, and then I had a full-length album.
I was actually going to ask you what the inspiration was to get back out there, but it was that you just got so carried away with
it was kind of an accident. I had a few songs that I wrote for various things. So I wrote a song about my daughter growing up during the pandemic, and how like I was really worried about how that's going to affect children.
Yep.
And then I also, my parents' 50th anniversary came up, so I wrote them a little song, and I had these kind of new songs kicking around. I had another really amazing band called Tamarack that I was in, and we all kind of had kids around the same time in the band, kind of, you know how hard it is to get people together. So
Yep.
I had some songs that I had written for that, and I was just like, it's just so sad that they're not going to see the light of day. So I ended up, I asked the guys if they were cool with me doing them on my album, and they were, and then all of a sudden I had, I think, how many songs are on the album? 12? There's like a lot of songs on it, and
It's a very prolonged accident.
yeah, it is. So yeah, and then luckily I reached out to Sean, who is one of my very favorite musicians. He can play literally any instrument in the entire world, and he agreed to play drums. So
It sounds like, I mentioned to Sean previously here that he sounds like the name that people say. Yeah, I reached out to my buddy Sean because I wanted to do an album, and he helped
Yeah.
me finish off the parts that I didn't have complete.
there's a reason for that.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Cannot tell you how amazing it is to work with Sean. He can sing anything I ask him to sing, and better things than I ask. And then also he can play drums, he can play guitar, he can play bass, and he's like in my favorite bands of all time, and amazing songwriter. So yeah.
Hey, Sean,
What do you think, Sean?
Do you want to give a little word to our viewers here?
Sure. So, I mean, Alicia and I are longtime collaborators. Like, we've been jumping on stage with each other for more than a decade now, I think. I'll have her come up and sing some backups on my band's material, which is All Right Already, formerly Great Plains. Alicia features on a track on the record called Oh My. 2 track. Is it 2?
Oh, the new record.
Yeah, the new record.
And 2 on the old song.
Yeah, and one on the new one. The new one's a bit of an ensemble cast. There's a lot of people involved, but I wanted to make sure Alicia was one of them. Yeah, so it's been a long time of just contributing to each other's projects and really enjoying what each other does musically. And so yeah, I was in the time of the Rona. I kind of retreated into my little basement studio, and I started doing some of my own drum recording for some folks, including Kim and Jillian from We Should Have Been Plumbers. I'm actually working on some stuff for Laser Mortis from Moncton right now. I'm actually super into like dark wave, synth wave stuff, and she's doing some really incredible stuff too. And so I was fortunate that she asked me to play some drums on a song of hers for her upcoming full length, and I of course immediately wrote vocal parts for it because it was an instrumental, or it was.
Yeah.
So she's gonna be finding that out sometime in the next 2 days because I haven't told her yet. She's up here for ECMAs as well, and she's just doing the conference circuit. So, but yeah, so obviously I'm really thrilled to have been involved with Alicia's record, and it was a great creative process of working not only with Alicia but with Jamie Folds, who is a really talented studio engineer from Cape Breton who's made some really incredible recordings and has a really precise ear. And so yeah, I'm really glad to have been able to swing by here at the Brown Hound today and once again jump on stage with Alicia and sing some parts.
Yeah, it was a nice treat to actually be able to get to meet her. It was a little unexpected. I don't think you were even sure that he was going to pop
I
up.
told him about the show. I figured maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah, no,
People have lives.
Wonderful little surprise and Easter egg for everyone that was here today to see the show.
We have a history of jumping on stage. I jumped on stage with Joel Plaskett last summer. And,
Oh, yeah.
And he played in Inverness, and he was doing the whole album down at the Khyber, and I love that album. And he was doing a song, Blinding Light, that normally has Ruth Minnick, and he was like, well, Ruth isn't here, so I'll have to muddle through. And I I was like, excuse me, Joel. And he definitely didn't remember meeting me. Like, we've met before, but he definitely didn't remember meeting me. And I was like, can I sing Ruth's part? And he was like, what? And then I did, and it was great. But
I was actually.
it could have gone really bad.
I was actually there. I've rarely been to Cape Breton, and especially the last few years. But this past summer, I tried.
So was it good?
Yeah, it was. But I'm just now connecting. I'm like, actually, I was at that show.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Joel like visibly relaxed when I started singing because he was like, who is this random person?
Yeah, exactly.
Because I hadn't played with him since Yellow, like long ago. So, yeah.
And so the new album, people can find that online, but there's also physical media because
Yes.
I actually have the CD sitting right beside me. Actually, I'm gonna ask that you autograph it. When you were getting off stage, I already got Sean's because he was standing
so
in the crowd
nice.
there. So.
Awesome. I have really bad handwriting though.
Me too. Look at that squiggle.
Yeah.
I should have been a doctor.
There. That's my wonderful handwriting.
What was the inspiration for Fox Sparrow? Like as a name, it's got, the cover is predominantly that image.
Yes. So I have really weird hobbies. I'm a nature nerd too. Like, so I'm a lab instructor, biologist kind of person in my private life. And I moved out. A lot of the songs on the record are about like my house and like where I live. So I moved out to the country in 2014, and one of the very first really cool birds I saw was a fox sparrow because they migrate through here in the early spring. They're just so funny and they hop around. So I was like, I'm gonna name it something nerdy and scientific and whatever. So I thought fox sparrow, and then I have this friend back home named Meredith MacDonald, and she makes incredible paper collages. And she does like a whole series of birds. And once I realized that I was gonna name it after a bird and I could commission some incredible like cover art from Meredith, I was like, that is it. So awesome. I got and I have the original at home sitting on my wall, and it's like my prized possession. So it's absolutely incredible that I got my very own picture.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So on the album too, I did notice this when I was listening to it the other day. The Gentleman Choir.
The Gentleman Choir.
Yeah.
The song is A Gentleman, so
Yeah. So
it's a pun.
Was that just a one-off thing?
Yeah, that was just. So I knew that when I first wrote that song, I was like, I think I want like a gospel choir at the end of that, and people were like, what? And I was like, no, I can hear it in my head. So in the studio, I recorded it, and then I started layering vocals on the end part to kind of make a choir, and I was like, no, it needs to be fuller, it needs to have different voices on it. So I got Sean to lay a couple tracks. Elise Aaron, who is another amazing local musician, she was actually in the studio while I was recording because she was like learning how to record. So hanging out with her was really fun. I got Jamie to put some vocals on it because Jamie is he's shy, so I coaxed him into it. And then I got Carolyn Boudreau, I should say, has the most beautiful voice of any human being in this entire world. So I had to call her and get her to come in, put a few tracks on too. And we just layered it up so it sounded like a big choir. And then Jamie has really incredible skills to make it sound like there's like 50 people.
Yeah.
And it was what I heard in my head, so that's what it was. I think it came out all right.
Yeah, no, it's great. I was listening to it. I didn't really know what to expect going into it. And I was pleasantly surprised. And as I mentioned, the reason I knew even about your back history there a little bit was because when I started digging around for songs, I found you were on some tribute albums to some of the Halifax scene.
Yeah, so the Inbreds were like one of the most influential acts in my whole life. I remember so how do I tell this story? Mike O'Neill had a thing on Much Music one year where he was like, I'm putting out a tape. Send $10 to this address. So I sent him a little letter. I was like, can I have a tape? And he sent me back this really nice personal message of like, hey, thanks for this tape. And, or thanks for ordering this. And I was like, okay. And then he put out a second one. I sent him another letter in the mail, and he sent me back another little letter. And then actually this one year, I was playing at the ECMAs in PEI. I think I had 12 shows in 3 days. with Tom Fun,
Oh my God, I remember.
Yellow. I lost my voice. It was a really crazy time. And then, what's the guy from Bucket Truck? That was the Much Music guy.
Oh, jeepers, what's his name?
He's from Newfoundland. Anyway, and I was talking to him, and I was like, I don't have a voice anymore, or whatever. And I gave him a CD, and then we were talking about like bands that we loved, and I was like, oh, can you play an Inbreds video on Much Music, because it was Much East.
Yeah.
And I was like, can you play an Inbreds music video? And then we were talking about the Inbreds. And then like a couple of days later, I got an email from Mike O'Neill, and it was like, hey, that guy gave me your CD. And I was like, whoa. And then so I tried, I was looking for funding for a few years to try and get a record made where Mike was going to produce it for me, actually. And it ended up not working out, but just like the fact that like I have that connection, and it's like an ECMA related connection, and like, yeah, so it was a pretty special time.
It's pretty much like a meant to be kind
Yeah.
of kismet situation.
Yeah, and then there was a guy that was doing all these East Coast tribute albums, and I did one for the Inbreds, I did one for the Super Friends, and I did one for Joel Plaskett, I believe. So that was that's what I grew up listening to, was like East Coast CanCon on Much Music.
And I did too, so
Yeah.
that's why I got very excited when I started listening to one of them on Spotify while I was doing stuff in the background.
nice.
I'm like, wait a minute, I know this song. I'm like, hey, that's the Inbreds.
Yeah.
That's exciting. So I was even doubly excited at that point. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get to go talk to her.
Yeah.
That was awesome. So going forward now that we're in 2023,
Yes.
you have this album out, but
Yes.
what are we looking forward to from you going into the rest of the year?
My problem was that I didn't, like I said, I made the album kind of by accident, so I didn't really have like a very solid plan in place for promoting it. So my plan right now is just to play as much as I can. I'd love to play some like outdoor shows in the summer if I can, or at least just some, early evening stuff, because I do have a 3-year-old child, and I can't stay up till 12 anymore, which is very lame to say, but yeah. So I just wanna play, and like I'm really proud of like how it came out, because like the reason why I wanted to kind of push this out there was because like I've done recordings before, and I've done group recordings that were done well, but I never really had the chance to do like a full length, really fancy, nice sounding studio version, which actually sounded like it sounds in my head. Like I've never had that opportunity before. And Jamie Folds is like an actual magician, and he literally took the things out of my head and made them into reality. So I just really, basically my goal is just for people to hear it. I just really want people to hear it. I'm very proud of it. I don't think they're gonna,
And where should people look for you to follow you going forward?
That
and
one's
find that?
easy. AliciaPenney.com.
Perfect. Nice and easy.
But don't forget, my last name has an EY.
Yes, I will try to remember to put a link down in the notes here.
Yeah.
And we'll see what the final version of this looks like. There's quite a few artists floating here.
Yeah.
So we do have another one coming up. I appreciate all the time you were able to give me.
I'm so happy to be here.
It's exciting, and I said to a few people just as we were coming down, it's hard to believe that it's still only Friday. We got a couple
my
days
gosh.
of this left. So thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you guys around the
Thanks
rest of
for
the
singing
weekend.
with me, Sean.
My pleasure.
All right, thank you.
Bye. Welcome back to East Coast DNA. We're still down here at the Brown Hound, enjoying the fresh air outdoors and a little bit of sunshine before the nighttime takes us. And we've got another guest here, John Donovan. And John was nice enough to bring along his new CD here as well, so I'll see that. Welcome, John.
Hey, Darcy, thanks. Thanks for having me.
So this album is my first exposure to John and Donovan, but maybe for myself and for the guests, we want to get a little bit of a history of where you came from.
Sure. Out of Glace Bay, Cape Breton, Nova Scotia. Was heavily involved in Celtic music, I would say, probably starting out listening to Dad's records. I think we all had some John Allen Cameron growing up, and that was in my headphones way back when. As a young man, graduated high school, toured the Maritime times here, a bit of a circuit, Ontario, a few spots in the U.S. Back in 2009, 2010, I did do a sophomore CD under John James Donovan, so it's a bit of a different name and brand change for me this time around. Causes lots of complications online, but lots of fun working through it. And this album here kind of was forged from Texas, so to speak. You know, I was in Texas working for a bit. Started writing music. Did a little Christmas EP while I was there, and then was bitten by the bug to continue to record. COVID hit. We all came home, as we know. A bit of a blessing in disguise for me. I was able to work from home and remain working from home, which allows me to be able to have time in music. So I decided I was going to do an album, and a record, and get out, promote it, and have some fun on my own terms, my own schedule. You know, but as much as I possibly can.
Yes.
Tell the truth, tell my loved ones, it can be so bad. Truth be told, I feel like you again on stage.
Well, this is it, the night. No more rehearsing, nursing the part. We know every part by heart. Oh, the sure curtains lights. Well, this is it, the height of heights. And oh, what heights will be. On the shore, this is it. You gotta love the Democrats, don't you? There's a couple on Fifth Avenue, and they've been sparring for a while. I really hope they can reconcile. Really understand the fight about what's another code for her. You really gotta feel for her. Yes, and he's got shot to the drain, but not take the world away. Bounty slows to the youngsters with the noisy arcade games. Don't you buy me for change. Preachers on every corner, we got hustlers on every bus. That doesn't leave much room for us. And our hookers took the feeders, they got a different kind of show. Oh man, it really gotta go. Drake's sitting on his back with 8H. Jimmy's a money man for hire. And at least we're in whiskey bowl. It's a night the bed was tired. And Billy Martin's just been fired. They're dressing up like fatty cats. They turn the road dance really fast. And greed is good, it's good for me. Who am I to say? I let them take all my money away. Sick ballerinas, they're talking in circles with their friends. They just escaped from Juilliard. They're gonna be ruins in them. They'll dance the way down Broadway, but I can't